Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you so much for joining me this evening on Talk and Sip. Thank you so much for those joining on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. But I just want to set some sort of framework in that if you're on Facebook, Instagram, you're not going to see the full shebang of the show. Really. The Instagram is just really there as what should I say, a teaser. It's like a shop window. The Instagram is like a shop window. It's a shop window which is a tease to take you over into the YouTube. The YouTube, which is Silver TV, that is where all roads should lead. There's a Facebook page as well, Silver TV, and in Talk and Sip, where one can actually see the full images of everyone. But on the Instagram, you're not going to get that. We're not discriminating against Instagram, but Instagram shut us down a lot. We had to move off Instagram in a way and, get onto the platform where it can actually secure. So what I'll do is to encourage people to definitely share the video, subscribe to the show, and the topic tonight is a very interesting topic. It's there: school violence, mental health challenge solutions. Well, before I go any further, what am I doing? That's the first thing. It's Talk and Sip. Talk and Sip is somewhat like I wouldn't say it's like a rum bar, but it is like an area where you can come together, like in the rum bar, and have a drink. So the drink I'm having is a mix of concoction, non-alcohol, totally non-alcohol, which is mango, coconut, pineapple, and strawberry as well. So that's what I'm going to be having tonight. Always tend to ask person what you are drinking. What are you drinking? What are you drinking? And of course, always have my sparkling still water. Cap. How can you have a sparkling still water, Silver? That is, you cannot have sparkling still water. So I'm going to have sparkling water tonight. I have various guests which will be coming on tonight to have the discussion. Different persons. I'll be having, I guess, Wesley Boynes. He's going to be joining tonight as well. We've got Sophia, Thompson-Mckoy. We've got Jacqueline, Bryan, and also we've got Norman. So I don't think I have the picture for Andrew Norman and his wife on it. All the persons are educated, combination of educators and also social workers at the same time, looking at this key topic in regards to violence in school. But I was otherwise than that. I always like to speak about what is going on in the world. And one of the things which is going on in the world today is there's this big news. I don't know if you guys are following the UK. Let me just turn this down a bit. In the UK, Rwanda. Hey, blessings, Lexi. Queen Lexi. We even got Queen in the place. I thought there was only one Queen, Queen Elizabeth. But they got Queen Lexi. Queen Lexi is here. Many different queens, man. Big time. I remember Portia said one time, "I am the queen." I thought Jamaica was actually moving away from having trying to get the republic status. I don't know what is happening there. It seemed like it was a false alarm. Everybody got excited about it, but it's gone quiet. The trailers run cold, ladies and gentlemen. Cold. Not hearing nothing more about that, but we are hearing about the Commonwealth. Everybody's vying to be the Commonwealth and to be the head of the Commonwealth, or so. Getting back into the bastions of the relics of the past that keep the empire alive. Could that be? But another thing which is in the news, ladies and gentlemen, from the UK perspective, Rwanda. Yes. I don't know if you know this, But the UK have actually created a policy in conjunction, created this policy in conjunction with Rwanda to send asylum seekers over there to process their application. So therefore, you leave wherever you go. You left the country. You say you're going to UK, you're going to Europe, and wabum, as you come to Europe, they're actually sending you over to Rwanda. I shouldn't say back to Rwanda, but to Rwanda to process the whole thing. But Prince Charles have come out licking out big time. You know, Prince Charles said the Prince of Wales has been caught up in the row after 2 papers reported he had called the policy appalling. That's very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because the Queen do not get involved with politics. Because guess what? These are stuff which is read at the Queen's speech. And the Queen's speech was done by Prince Charles. Prince Charles already got his foot in the mouth, not foot and mouth disease. His dad was king of that. And Prince Charles said, ask him the question, will you, when you become king, or if you become king, get involved with government policies and all those sort of things? And he said, no, never. I'm not that silly. But hey, Prince of Wales has been caught up in the row. The Daily Mail and the Times both report that sources that said Prince Charles had made private comments in which he expressed his disappointment over the plan. Right? The recent High Court has just ruled that the UK can go ahead with that against all the different oppositions by lawyers and all those sort of things. Campaigners against the government policy to send migrants to Rwanda say they will now take their fight to the Court of Appeal on Monday. As I said, it comes after the High Court said the first flight to take asylum seekers from the UK to Rwanda must go ahead. Okay? Prince is traveling. What do you think about that, ladies and gentlemen? Is it racist? Is Rwanda? What is wrong with Africa? I did a show. What's wrong with Africa? What's wrong with processing? But then the big question is, are they sending persons from Ukraine? Will they be sending persons from Ukraine over there to Rwanda? I think the Prime Minister said, no, I can assure you that won't happen. So what is it? What's the big deal? What's wrong with Ukrainians going to Rwanda to process their thing? But I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think for Ukrainians, they were invited to the UK. Ukrainians were invited just like the Windrush. People were invited to the UK. You understand? So therefore, they are not seeking asylum. They are actually invited. And persons who actually take Ukrainians into their home will be given money. Okay? Will be given money. And that is something which is very interesting. You know, so that's a big thing which is going on over there in the UK here now. And it is food for thought. And I we're going to be talking more about this as well. But in America, I need to play a video, and this is going to be my opening, and it is with Mia Mottley, ladies and gentlemen. Mia Mottley. That's going to be my opening today. Mia Mottley, who is the Prime Minister of Barbados. They say she's a leader of the CARICOM, de facto leader. And she made a powerful statement. The Prime Minister of the UK, he did make a speech, but her speech was really powerful, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, welcome to Talking Sip. I'm going to have a really good show tonight, but just setting the stage. And what are you drinking? This is what I'm drinking. You have to drink something. And when you drink something, you need to say, Queen Lexi, you're the first person who has made in the comments. So what are you drinking? Ladies and gentlemen, write in, what are you drinking today? That's what, it's like a rum bar. You know, anything happens. We talk, but this is not rum, right? It's not even crown. Peter is the one that brings the crown. I don't know where she is, and I'm saying, you know, that's the way how we do it. But I'm going to start off with Mia Mottley, ladies and gentlemen. Mia Mottley is what I'm going to start off today with. And let me see if I can get her going. And this is, I think, the best way to start the show. Let me just turn this music down and you watch. Tell me what you think about this lady.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister.
The Chair now recognizes the Honourable Mia Mottley, Prime Minister of Barbados.
Bless my eyes this morning, the sun is on the rise again. The way earthly things are going, anything can happen. Mr. Secretary, there is so much trouble in the world. Excellencies, there is so much trouble in the world. Heads of government, there is so much trouble in the world. Heads of state, there is so much trouble in the world. I've chosen the language of Bob Marley this morning, not because I'm an apostle of Bob, as you probably have realized by now, but also because he reminds us of the day-to-day reality of our people and of our citizens. And we have come to Los Angeles hopeful that we're not just going to engage in speeches, or we're not just going to engage in platitudes, but we go home to make a difference to people at perhaps the most difficult time this world has seen in 100 years. We have 3 global crises, and any one is sufficient to bring us down. The climate crisis hurts from you here in California in fires, to us in the Caribbean through the heart attack of hurricanes, and the chronic NCDs of water crises and droughts, or floods, depending on where you go. We fight the pandemic. And even as we talk about the pandemic, we need to start to qualify it, because we fight the COVID pandemic without realizing that the slow onset pandemic of antimicrobial resistance is already upon us, being fueled further by how we farm, how we treat each other with the abuse of antibiotics, and how we literally allow those things to flow into our environment and contaminate our water system. And as if that was not enough, we now fight the prices of food and fuel and fertilizer. Knowing,
Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to play that a bit of Mia Mottley, the Prime Minister of Barbados, and she really set the stage in a very serious way as to when she said, we got a problem. It's like, Houston, we got a problem. And the problem worldwide now is multifaceted. I'm sure that when you drive past your petrol station, you're seeing it going up. I'm sure when you go to the supermarket, you're seeing it going up as well. For those in the UK, you see a council tax going up. Everything is going up. And yes, we've got a problem again. As the topic of the show tonight is, the show is that we've got children fighting one another. Where? How has this happened? Where did this come from? I remember growing up in high school in Jamaica. You never dare raise your hands against a teacher, because this is what's going to happen. Your parents will find out, you get a whooping, right? And the teacher will give you a whooping. And your parents will thank the teacher for giving you a whooping, right? The village played a part in the whole process of the rearing and the breeding of the child, the grooming of the child. The word grooming is now being used in a different way. But yes, it was groom. We're grooming a proper way. The broad-topsy, as they'll say, was crucial. The broad-topsy of us as people, right? I remember going to York Castle High School. Then one of my friends, we had a good fight. We went to the principal to get caning. He started to cry. My colleague started to cry. The principal said, the one who's crying, save the other one. But guess what? That wasn't my fare. My fare wasn't about the caning from Jingles or Mr. Gordon. My fare was that I didn't want my father or my mother to know, because I know that there's going to be another caning or another whooping of the law. You know? So when I see what is happening now, the question we got to ask ourselves is this: where, how, when you see children like this, what causes it? What is that present scenario? What are the experiences which are going to be shared tonight? What are the causes and effects? The breakdown of the village. Was it COVID? Is it mental health? Well, it wasn't mental health there before. Why? Is it because of the advent of social media or the phone that we are seeing a lot of these? What is it? I don't know. We're going to hear from the experts. But most importantly, what I want to come out tonight, ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, not just the regurgitation of what we all know or the images, but what are the solutions? What are the effective solutions that can be done that we can take from today, that people can take from today, right? And that, remember, we can wait for government to do things. Well, guess what? The government not in the house, right? The government is not the parent. We have to actually be the parent, be the village, be the godfather, you know? So that's the whole shebang. So without further ado, I'm going to start to bring in persons one by one, whosoever is here. And even though I've got guests who is set to come on the show, I also have other persons who are set to come on the show, some by face and some by not face. But I'm going to start with the face that I can see. I only can see one person showing their face, Sophia McKoy. Yes, I can see you. They're smiling. I can see persons, but nobody can see them. Yeah. So I bring in Sophia McKoy because she's the only person that I can see a face with. Boom. Magic.
Hi,
Hey, okay, we can hear you. How are you doing?
I am good.
You're good. You're good. Fantastic. Well, how is Jamaica there? What's the weather like? Send some of it to us in the UK. What is it like there?
It's actually hot, even though there's a little wind, but it's hot overall. It's really hot.
You mean so? What they say? You're feeling hot, hot, hot.
Hot, 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 hot.
Are you drinking something, Sophia?
Yes, right here.
What are you drinking? Okay, right. So you're really, you need to say what you're drinking. You know, what are you drinking?
Do I have to? I'm just kidding. It's Malta, all Malta.
You're drinking all
Just
Malta.
Malta. Yes,
Okay.
yes. I
Okay.
am a lover of
Fantastic.
Malta.
I'm sorry? Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Sophia Thompson-Mckoy, she's a brilliant and committed servant, youth leader that leads from the heart, treasurer of Rollington Community Development Committee for over 3 years. She's an educator over 10 years, and she's got a company which is called the M4 Tutoring Services, where she designs and sells her own notebooks in the presence of starting her own early childhood development. And one of the things that I found out, ladies and gentlemen, is that they've got so many raft of persons in Jamaica who are maybe we call unknown, you know, because, you know, and they're doing fantastic, great things. So stick up in there, Sophia. Welcome and thank you for coming on. I'll just bring in my next guest. Hey, I got a double whammy. I thought it was only Andrew coming on tonight, but it's Andrew and Donnet Norman. How are you guys?
We're good, thanks. Appreciate the invitation, and yeah, we are honored to be in the presence of greatness like you folks.
Awesome. And Donnet.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Yes.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I've got to disclose that Donnet is like a sister to me, a big sister. You know, she and my sister are best friends, you know, so this is family at the same time. It's very important when you're overseas, you don't burn your bridges. So you can call on people instantly, boom, you know. Never burn my bridges. I don't keep my links and right. You know, Donnet, you are a senior teacher, yes? Donnet?
Yes, I am.
Yes. And Andrew.
Yes, I am.
Yes. And Andrew's a guidance counselor at a prominent high school in Kingston as well, and educators. And of course, you'll say more about what you are, what you do later in the day. I can see Queen Lexi says she's having Magnum, and she's saying hello shop. I don't know. I'll say hello. Oh, I guess you know what that is. That's your friend, isn't it, Sophia? And let me bring in Sam. Sam, how are you? Samantha? I don't know if she can hear. Well, she's in the UK, guys. I brought someone from the UK in, and she's a senior social worker. Sam, I don't know if your audio is not coming up, so I'm not hearing from you. So whenever you get that sorted, then you can. Well, guys, listen. Let's just go straight into it, and different person's gonna come for different time. I've seen videos. I've been seeing some videos going around, and the videos are showing. Let me just bring in Sir Boynes here just to get it going properly. Sam, whenever you're there, let me know. Yeah. Sir Wesley Curwin Boynes. Can you hear me, sir? Sir Boynes? No? Let me see. Hello? Sir Boynes? Okay, can you hear me? Let me just... Sir Boynes? No? Can you... I'm not hearing you. Can you say hello? You can't hear. Say something, Sir Boynes. Say hello? No? You can't hear me? Okay. Well, anyway, Andrew and Donnet, what are you drinking?
Water.
Water, yeah. Yes.
Crystal punch.
Crystal punch. That is very awesome. That's very awesome.
A dash of lime, lemonade, real, a little sugar and a little lime. Yeah, real lime juice.
Real lime juice, yes. I'm going to ask you guys to for someone to sort of. I'm going to try to speak to Wesley Boynes in the meantime. Donnet, can you sort of, and Andrew, before I go to Sophie, can you set the stage as to the topic, which is school violence, mental health challenge solution? What is really the status of things as to why you were prompted to instantly accept the invitation to come on?
Wow. Well, I suppose the fact that we see that young persons and teachers need some intervention,
yes,
is a biggie. We all need help sometimes to cross a bridge in life, and it's obvious that the stresses of the learning loss situation and other stresses in different communities are impacting on teachers. There have been 11 teachers that have, I'm not sure, I think it was 11 that I heard the last time that have died, that unexpectedly. Teachers are taking on the stress of the learning loss that the students are experiencing, because no teacher wants to know that their students are not doing well. And so, the involvement of the students during the pandemic, as some of them have not been really too involved in schoolwork, and so they are behind. And so that would cause some frustration also, now that we're returned to face-to-face. That would heighten the frustration in the classroom. The teaching learning atmosphere is... And then you have the administrators also that want to achieve a certain amount of passes and so on, and keep children having a certain level of grade. So there's a lot of tension everywhere, and the pressures are on, and the stresses are there, the triggers are there, that triggers these things in relationships, that causes breakdown in relationships and so on.
Okay. Thanks for that, Norman. Sir Boynes, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. I'm logging on temporarily from another device until I get my main device sorted out.
Okay, so you okay. Well, thank you so much for joining. And it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you are here, and we can hear you, sir. So thank you so much. And Boynes, Wesley Boynes is, ladies and gentlemen, if I can just be correct about that, is a former president of the Jamaica Independent School Association, current senior elder of the Philadelphia Life Center, and certified behavior therapist. And if I put a little thing also, he's the one who married me and my wife. In Jamaica, 2001, you know. So it's all family here, you know. So let me go on to Sophia. Sophia, how are you?
I am good. I am
yes,
good.
yeah. As the same
Happy
question.
to be here.
Awesome. As the same question which I had put to Donnet and Andrew, what are some of the concerns based on the topic, and why you're quick to actually join based on some of the issues in Jamaica there?
Well, one of the main reason is that oftentimes, as individuals, as an educator also, we normally have something to say, but we say it in our own little small corner. And when I was given this opportunity to share, I decided that this would be a very good platform to use to, share from an educator standpoint, irrespective as to what is happening. So that was actually my main reason for saying yes.
So what if I put to you? So what is happening? What is happening?
What is happening in the education
Yeah,
system?
from your perspective. Yeah.
I think that there's a breakdown. Um, the only thing that I didn't like about COVID was the many lives that were lost. But other than that, COVID actually exposes the weaknesses that are there. Um, in truth and in fact, I believe that at one point we were comfortable to say this is where we're heading and it's a good look. But here comes COVID, and COVID showed us otherwise, that said, listen, we need to go back to the drawing board and we need to get certain things done. So it exposes the weaknesses that we are now experiencing,
Yes.
especially in the education system.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, those on Instagram, thank you. But as I mentioned before, Instagram is just showing my face only. To see the full show, you go on to YouTube, Silburn TV, and Facebook as well, Silburn TV and Talk and Sip. Thank you so much for joining. Sir Boynes, same to you, sir. You know, you shared, we speak regular, and we discuss sometime about what's going on the ground. When I see children fighting teachers, children fighting each other, I said in my opening earlier, maybe you weren't here, that if that happened to me, I get a whooping at home, a whooping at school. All neighbors even want to whoop you as well, you know, because that's not how we're brought up. What's going on, Sir Boynes, from your perspective?
Well, I think that let me thank you for having me on the show. I don't know if I got it wrong. I thought it was 4:30.
Well, no, it's 4:30 now. It just came in early. It's always good to be early, you know.
Okay. I thought. Okay, I got a mixed up there. But I'm really happy to be here with you and your noble guest. As far as I'm concerned, the pandemic didn't create anything new, or what it exposed the cracks which were already there before the pandemic. So the children who are now coming to school with extreme antisocial behaviors and fighting about themselves, rebelling against authority and so on, those cracks were there. The signs were there. And the pandemic just created a situation where, for full exposure or full maturity of these dark behaviors and dark energies, it came to fruit. Okay, the chickens are hatched. And so if we are blaming the COVID for the situation, then we are making a mistake. All of these children are coming from dysfunctional family structures. okay, which were not dealt with before the COVID. All right, I have to deal with a lot of families, good families, bad families. I have noticed that the families where the systems are in place, the father is present, there's relationship with the parents and their children, there's synergy between the mother and father. They don't have any issues. I mean, things are not perfect. They got their challenges, but the children are not going crazy. Okay, but the homes where the structures were not put in place, they were not ready for the crisis. And when the crisis came, you see what we are having right now. So I think the COVID, I agree with my sister. Okay, the situation is exposing issues which were already on the table before the pandemic, which we did not pay attention to.
Yes. Sam, are you there? Can you hear me?
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's 10:30 in the UK. My name is Sam, and I am sipping aloe vera.
Okay. Awesome.
So good evening, one and all. I'm a social worker. I've been a social worker for about 20 plus years now. So I'm coming from obviously a societal point of view, and yes, COVID just erupted everything which was there before time immemorial, as my mother would tell me. I'm Windrush first generation, so yes, my parents are Kingstonians, so don't be mistaken by the English stroke London accent. Yes, I came from a situation just like you all. There's an erosion, there's a breakdown within society. If I got caught smoking, the whole world knew about it, from my brother, my sister, my mum, my dad. Everybody knew about it, the neighbours. So there's not that consequential factors for these children. Our children don't have consequential thinking. It's not a thing about right and wrong anymore. Of course, it's the explosion of children behaving so negatively in school. I would have to say it's definitely linked to social media. I have gone as far as saying I think it's also immunization, but I won't go there. I think it's a factor with food, because it's a whole generation of issues that are going on. It's missed a whole generation. So it's not the 50 pluses, it's the 40s, the 30s, the 20s who I see where there's real significant difficulties. Intergenerational patterns of abuse and neglect. I'm dealing with families where you've got grandfathers, parents and children. They don't know about a work ethic. So, that moral fiber is not there. Right now in the UK, since COVID has ended, the schools now are going full hilt with cautioning parents if their children are not attending school. They are doing welfare visits to children, especially those who are significantly at risk. So if they're on a child protection plan, or if they're looked after, they will go out and do those visits to the children as well. In the UK, there's multi-agency working, so as well as education, social workers are also involved as well, because it has to come from a preventative measure. We know many of our families are struggling here, a high majority, dealing with financial difficulties, dealing with factors of children who are traumatized, who can't go to school. So we've got children who want to stay at home because their parents might be misusing substances and they have to take care of their parents. It might be a thing about their parents got mental health, or there's an issue about domestic violence. So those factors are many factors for our young people, and it's overspilling within the schools because these are traumatized children and they can't deal with the 9 to 3. They just can't manage it. So yeah, it's definitely an erosion that we see here.
And Sam, we're in the UK and we work together in different ways. When you see like the images coming from Jamaica, for argument's sake, and you make that comparison with the UK, what's your thought? You must have seen the child fighting the teacher, and the other child cursing the other teacher, and children fighting. What's your take on that?
Well, don't be shocked. It was happening here a long time. So let's get it real. It has happened in UK schools. We've got children who schools have got problems with children at the age of 5. They can't control them. We've got plans for children, so they might be on a thing called like an educational healthcare plan. But those children, 99% of them, I said, they come from trauma. It's they're coming from trauma where there's been abuse within those families. There's inappropriate boundaries. So, for example, how the parents are parenting those children has it leaves a lot to be desired, because, and it comes back again, I'm sorry, to social media, because people are so engaged with what other people are doing and they don't see that every day is difficult. Bringing up children is difficult, but if you're on Instagram all the time, you see these perfect families. That's not the reality of our families here. So it really does impact on them. We've got children who are competing over things because they're not wearing the right trainers. You know, we've got, that's why schools are really on it about uniforms, etc. But I just want to make it clear, you know, children have been disrespectful over here for a long time. Okay, and children, you know, there are rules here. They will, and just like throughout the country, throughout the world, the children will be excluded. But there's plans before that. So if there's trauma behind that child, they will try everything before they try to exclude that child. I'm telling you clearly, Black children are more quickly to be excluded than their white counterparts. So if a Black boy was to stand up to a teacher, Black or white, in the UK, they're more likely to be on a plan. They're more likely to be going to a PRU, which will be a pupil referral unit, than their white counterpart. And what they say, that's a fast track to prison for our children, for our Black boys especially.
That's very interesting, and thank you for that. I'm going to come back on some bits. Donnet, we didn't get onto your bit there. Sir Boynes, are you still there? Are you switching around your computer? Maybe switching around.
Yeah,
Donnet,
I'm still there.
You're still there. Yeah. Donnet, Sam mentioned something about trauma and the children and the home factor. What's your take on that? And let's look at the trauma from different levels. Yeah.
Well, as was mentioned, and I fully agree that some of these ills were there before the pandemic, and they were just, the pandemic just brought them out. Certainly, none of us were prepared for 2 years of lockdown, and this has really impacted students' learning because. First of all, I dare to say that there are many positive things that have come out of the pandemic, right? So I'm not. It was not all bad. It's not all bad, but for many years, I know principals really tried to get their staff onto technology, but you had a lot of persons, or some of the older ones, who were resistant to technology, and none of us had no clue that the pandemic would come suddenly. So here it came, and students didn't have devices. So many students were left out of school for a while. It took a while. There was a time in Jamaica where devices were short in the stores, and if they were available, there were parents who could not afford them. So children had a lot of time on their hand, and they were drunk under the wrong influence. Hours of violent movies, games, you know, just out of sorts. So and the lack of proper home training, even though parents were locked down, if you don't know how to train your children, then that lockdown time was a misery for many students. And so it really impacted negatively on quite a number of households. I know children who were because you know, I would be online and, you know, networking not just with my students but students all over, and for many of them lockdown was like one of the most horrible experience that they had. So the trauma of, you know, being away from their friends, lack of proper supervision, right?
So Sophia, what are some of the lived experience that you have experienced, and I put it there, with the children? What are some of the lived experience in comparison to like what we see that you may have experienced?
In terms of what used to happen then versus now?
No. Well, it's interesting you say then and now, because we are getting to understand that it's not really changed that much. It is just that it's been exposed, you know. But what are some of the lived experience, just like how that teacher was fighting? No, not the teacher fighting, but the child fighting the teacher, or the children fighting, children stabbing one another. Yeah.
All right. I've had experiences where I remember one year, I was teaching grade 3, And there was this little boy. He's in the 8th grade now. I saw him and I called him and I asked him how is he. And I was there. I was just encouraging him. I said, listen, you have the potential to do your work, but you're not doing it. You need to be focused. And I was there gently. And I was surprised at his response when he said, Miss, he was talking to his friends, never know that I would have heard. He said, him one man kidnap Miss and shoot her up. And so I was shocked. I said, what did you say? And he didn't repeat it, right? And I said to him, I didn't hit you. I didn't shout at you. All I was doing is encouraging you. And this is what you have to say to me. This is the thanks that you're saying, thank you, Miss. So I was really taken aback by that. I moved on with my class, honestly, because of how shocked I was. I didn't address the situation any further. And that's the honest truth, because I didn't know how to. And I was a young teacher. I think that was like my 4th year in teaching. So let me interject and say something. I think one of the things too in Teachers College, I mean, they do a great job when it comes on to the theoretical aspect of teaching, the book work, the chalk and talk. But when it comes on to the practical part of it, like this is what you might face. These are some of the circumstances or the instances you might meet upon in the classroom. So this is the way that you will deal some of the advisable way or the best method to take. So I think that part is lacking when it comes on to Teachers College. So when we have our lived experiences, as I mentioned it, sometimes we don't know how to handle it. Just like that situation, it was a perfect one for me. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't want to get aggressive.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say what I might end up have to apologize and say. There was another instance where I was there after I taught my lesson, turned my back, of course, to write on the board, and I only hear miss, 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 miss. There were 2 students fighting, and it was over a pencil, one pencil. So there's just so much lived experience that I've had over the 10 years that I've been inside of the classroom. But I realize that as I grow, I have learned how to deal with the situation, like get persons involved, or I walk away.
Well,
Sometimes you have to walk away.
Well, interesting. We're going to come back to those bits in the end as to solutions. Pastor Boynes, I want to touch on conflict resolution regarding young people, but I want to pick up what Chemel Primary Junior High, a comment which is there, because I like to keep the viewers involved. This is Usher and educator as well. There's a serious breakdown in the society and many parenting practices. The pandemic only enlightened what was already happening. Let's dig into that bit there about the society and parenting practices and the breakdown. Pastor Boynes, let me see if I can hear you. Oh,
yes.
Okay, good. Yes. You're on the live. Yeah, good.
Yes, Selburn. Yes, I agree with. I didn't get the name of the
O'Shea and educator.
O'Shea.
Yes,
I fully agree with her statement there. I really believe that the academic process prepares you for certification, qualifies you for a job. But the mentoring and training and development of a child should be firmly rooted in the family structure. Okay, and education and the parenting process should work hand in hand together. Okay, I did a survey a few years ago, Selburn. This was with a private school, a well-known private school, to see how much time teachers had to leave from teaching to deal with parenting issues. And when I say parenting issues, I'm talking about stop lying, stop cheating, because I believe a parent is the one who should teach a child to be honest and integrity and the values the values which the core family values. The parents are the ones who should pass that on to the children, because when the exams come along, PEP and CSEC, it's not about whether you tell the truth or not, or whether you lie. It's about maths and English and all these things. And I found out that the teachers had to spend 20 minutes per hour dealing with parenting issues instead of teaching integrated science and all of these things. So I think the breakdown of the family structures, which is supposed to facilitate and support the parent, the teaching process, has been exposed by the pandemic. So I agree with the teachers. And a lot of the issues which educators are dealing with, I interact with a lot of schools around the island. When you look at children who are considered troublemakers and all of that type of situation, their parenting covering is not in place. There was this little boy, a school, they were going to throw this boy out of the school. Okay? And I tell him no, because as far as I'm concerned, he's always getting in fight. He's a worst student. I said, no. Give me some time with this boy. Okay? The boy, when you sit down and talk to the boy, he didn't know who his father was. His mother was a lady of the night. Okay? She was on drugs. He had to be living at some home where they weren't really his family. And it was troubling the young man because he didn't have somewhere to call like home or family. And I had to interact with him, put value on him, and enroll him in some special skills development stuff in the afternoon, and music and different things. And that boy became one of the best students in the school in the space of one term, because I realized he was just trying to find attention. He was just trying to attract attention. So that whole issue of the family, okay, the COVID exposed that you cannot run a society just by teachers teaching children in a classroom. You need to have family structures where family values are clearly defined. And when the teacher said, "Don't let me call your father or your mother," that's what drives the fear of God in that child's heart. That's not the case in many instances.
Yeah.
Sam, that is how my principal used to straighten me out when I was a little boy. Don't let me call your father.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, as I relate to that as well, that's why when I was gonna get caning by Mr. Gordon Jingles from York Castle High School, I wasn't worried too much about the caning. I was worried about it getting to my home, to my father. Sam, in the UK, and you're coming in from outside like myself looking in. That particular statement by O'Shea, and even comparing it with the UK, and what's your take on it?
Well, in UK schools now, we have things like pastoral support. So if I think about the solutions going forward, so pastoral support would encompass the emotional and social development of the child. Okay, and it's about trying to make sure that this child is not excluded. It would cover. So these are not the actual academic teachers. These are other educators who are trained in trauma-based work, that they might be dealing with those children who might, for example, be excluded from a lesson. And so they will go to a side unit where they get more support and that attention. Those pastoral support workers also would contact the family. So they contact the parents, we need to talk to you, etc. And of course, the SENCO, which is like special educational needs coordinator, be involved if there's anything like trauma-based background, if there's things like Asperger's or ADHD. There are so many different panels, so many different parts of the education system which is set up within the UK, because the whole thing is about keeping children in the educational system until they're 18 now. It used to be 16, but it's about 18. So they want to support. Now, if these children are not supported by the school, the next contact will be children's services to see if additional support can be provided by the parents. Children's services have a duty under the Children's Act of 1989 to support children in need. So those children might be at risk, and it may not be from the parenting itself. It might be a thing which we now understand more clearly about contextualized safeguarding. So our children are at risk now from the community. So from those who are grooming our children, literally in the negative scheme of things. So elders within the community, meaning anyone over the age of 18 would be classed as an elder. And that could be grooming that child into criminal or sexual exploitation.
Yes.
And we're talking about from the age of 8 plus going upwards. We realise it's not just in the home. The community can be very dangerous for our children. So even going into a certain park, you're crossing over a different postcode. So if you're crossing over from Rollington Town to Trench Town, that's going to cause problems. That's the same thing what will happen within the UK as well. Now, many of our children have to catch a train, go on public transport to go to schools which may be far across into another local authority because of special educational needs. Those children run a risk every single day that they're traveling. So as well as dealing with problems at home, because my dad might be an alcoholic and he may be violent, and that's what COVID brought out for us, was that because no one could escape it, our children were exposed to high levels of domestic violence, high levels of mental health, high levels of sexual abuse within the families as well, intrafamilial sexual abuse, and also just all those other issues. So our children, what they have to manage, I'm 50. I wouldn't want to be 16 again, right? Because what our children have to manage now, as well as comparing themselves to someone who lives far away in America, you know, because I don't look like that and I'm going to change the way that I look, so I'm happy with myself, as well as all the gaming, it's just a really precarious time for our young people. So it is overspilling. There's not enough guardians within society. And what I mean by that is that the community turns a blind eye. If you see, you know, there's many women who've been accosted. So right now, there's a big drive for women and girl and women's violence in the UK. How, you know, people like, you know, systems like the Metropolitan Police and also education abuse our children. The systems are set up not for our children at all. So we need to think about what we are also seeing within the families. If there's domestic violence going on and men are not honouring women or vice versa, this is going to overspill to in the playground. This is going to overspill to teachers as well. And we need to also acknowledge that many of our teachers are not up to scratch. Many of our social workers are not up to scratch. They've just done it for the sake of that level of status. Some people need to be rooted out also. So it's not just it's a whole societal issue what is going on. But as I said, the support in England is there, but it doesn't mean that our children are not falling through the gaps, because they are. There's many of our children who are still not. If our children are not in education, there is a classification for them. So they're called NEET, so not in education, employment or training. Statistics, the government gathers statistics over that. But it's a very precarious time for our children at this moment.
Thanks for that, Sam. And I'm hoping to get an equivalent of yourself, Miss Jacqueline Bryan, all being well. I know she said she was coming late from a meeting, who is the president or the chair of the Association of Social Workers in Jamaica. And she had some interesting statistics. Norman, I want to come to you as a guidance counselor. When you see like the children fighting, and you see the issue with the child swearing at the teacher. And in the point of what O'Shea said, I bring back O'Shea's point, the breakdown in the society and many parenting practices. What happened? Is that child ostracized, or do they get down into the meat, the root of it?
Well, ideally, that's what should happen, that there should be some intervention on behalf of the child, not just on the part of the teacher. So there should be intervention. The particular case that you're mentioning seemed to have been highly provocative, if you want to call it that. In this case, you know, and I like what the lady said a while ago from England, that youth are pretty much more vulnerable. I mean, a teacher usually has some years of experience and has made it in life per se, but the trauma of dealing with the consequences of these kind of behaviors for the child is a lot oftentimes. And you know, we would want to say that yes, that care is extended to the child, that exploring of what happens for the child to get to that extent of behavior and all of that. But also from an administrative standpoint, we are trying to consider everything. They have to have some discipline in place, and so it's really a serious balancing act that has to go on here, because while we want to show consideration to the child, we also have to draw some kind of lines as it relates to discipline, so that other children don't get any ideas. And so the system is in place for intervention for the child, but also some behaviors have crossed the line really and become criminal, become a criminal behavior. And so
is it like the one with the young girl which was found with a gun in her bag?
You see what I'm saying? So, we still want to do the interventive approach in terms of trying to explore from a counseling standpoint what really happened to allow that child to get to that place where they are carrying, a weapon. But at the same time, like I said, some matters become police matters, and no more are, the counseling aspect goes on, but when it is a police, law supersedes. Law supersedes the whole thing of, so when you break the law, you are actually putting yourself in a very tight spot.
Yes.
It makes the intervention that more difficult. The counseling intervention.
Yeah. Okay. I want to get into the whole point now regarding like solutions. And I know I spoke to you, Pastor Boynes, when we spoke about even like the tablets. The tablets is one thing that lots of students or a lot of children have, but it wasn't managed properly during the course of the lockdown, isn't it? It was abused at the same time.
Well, I'm not sure from what angle you call it was abuse. I think a lot of parents were not prepared to manage the interaction that the children will be having with cyberspace.
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of parents, their own skills using the computer and technology and going online was found the one thing. And what happened, a lot of children have become addicted to porn over the last couple of years. I have many parents who have gotten in touch with me that their child is in porn. And because that value system and that accountability was not built, the children were exposed. And because the parents didn't know how to put in the safety measures and check the history of their children's browsing history and those type of soft skills, parenting now requires a different type of skills, because you can now, when as a little boy, your parent kept you safe by building a big fence around the house and having 2 bad dogs in the yard. Now you have a big fence, 2 bad dogs, but your child is in the bed interacting with Mike from 9-year-old Mike in London, actually a 40-year-old pervert.
Can I just jump in there in relation to what happened in Jamaica? Didn't happen in the UK. So before, our children were all, a majority, to say 80% of all children were allocated laptops. But before they were allocated, they were restricted. You could not go on social media. It was only linked to their school. So that's the mistake of the government, okay, because you can't just hand out a tablet and think it's going to be okay. But also the parents need to take responsibility, because how many people don't have an iPhone? And if your own iPhone, the amount of children who know how to go on YouTube on their parents' phone, know how to unlock it. If there's no locks on that, there's no parental restrictions. So yeah, children can see anything on their parents' tablets and social media, which is more dangerous. So yeah, you're right in terms of the restrictions, but in the UK, anything that was handed out from the government was restricted. It only could be child-led. So therefore, if you was in junior school, you couldn't access work for 13 plus. They wouldn't allow you. So there needed to be some more government control. And also, education themselves within each school, they have an IT department which would also run the computers to make sure that they're safe. So it's also about the systems what are in place because of course our children are more competent than us in terms of computers. We haven't got parents who are checking history, etc. And you're right, they are talking to predators across the world, or actually next door. But we need, as adults and governments and agencies, we need to take more responsibility for our children, because our parents don't necessarily understand. And if we do, then support them in that going forward. So we have something. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate the point. I didn't get the name of my sister there.
Sorry, my name is Sam. My name is Sam.
I'm
sorry.
Yeah, I appreciate Sam's point about government control and all of that. But the reality is that a lot of these children, they can jump over a lot of these controls.
I was about to say.
These children are so quick. Okay, I know the children, young kids, they can break any code, and it comes back down to the core values which are passed on to these children. Let me give you an example. I remember I went into a school and I did a family values project with a certain school, a primary school. And I told them to go and whoever they believe is their role model to, do up a write-up on this person and why this person is their role model. So this child, this particular movie television character, a real person, was her role model, a grade 4 student. So she went and did a study. But then she came across a real actor and doing her research. And this real actor lives a very dark life. And that child, when her mother came home, she said the child told her, "Mommy, I won't call the person's name." She said, "This lady is no longer my role model." Okay, and she said, "Why?" And then she talked about the values. And that mother came to me very emotionally the next day, because previously we had emphasized the importance of family values. If she did not teach her daughter the values of the family, okay, her child would have gone deeper into this dark energy from this person and become corrupted and contaminated. Okay, so even though you put the controls there, every now and then something slips. The children can jump over, something jumps into their space.
Yes.
And if they don't have the core values to say, "I am not going to take part in that," then you have lost your child.
And Sophia, you are shaking your head there. Seems like you have some experience. What in regards to the whole bit with the jump in the loop, jump in the hoop?
No, I'm saying there's YouTube. There's YouTube. Persons call it their university. So he's perfectly correct that the government can do just about enough and no more where that is concerned in terms of the control. Because if you go on YouTube and if you want to know how to hack someone's internet, they tell you how to do it. It's there. The outline is there. So I am agreeing that the importance is the value. What is it that you instill in your child? Like what I am trying to instill in my son, who is 8, is that whatever it is that he does in front of my face, it should be something that he would do behind my back. So I don't want him to be this one person because mommy or daddy is around, and then when mommy or daddy is not around, he will do something totally different, or he's a total different person. So it's just what we instill. So it doesn't matter what the government put on the tablet. It doesn't matter how much firewall, how much different wall. There are actually ways to get around it. So it goes back to us as parents. What is it that we are instilling in our children? What values, what morals? What is it we're teaching them?
Sybil, can I make a quick point before you go?
Please.
I think a lot of parents are not sure how far they can intervene in terms of their child's looking into their child's cell phone and their child's laptop and so on. And they've given up, they don't understand that the same parental authority that they have in their physical home
Yes.
the thing they
They
have.
should exercise the same authority in the cyberspace of their children's life. Okay, I
But it
remember
goes to
when,
knowledge. It goes to knowledge, Pastor. Sorry, but it goes to knowledge too,
yes,
because how many parents now really, really know how to maneuver, how to manipulate? Because this generation now, they're labeled as technology babies, and you
Yes.
find out that my daughter, who is 2, I mean, she can't master, but certain things that she know now at the age of 2. I mean, maybe back then we didn't know. So some parents really don't know. The children are just, they're different. They're exceptional.
Well,
yeah, I fully agree with that point.
yes.
But then there's the other argument of the child's privacy, and so a lot of parents, they have some young children on Facebook and on other platforms, and the parents don't know who are their friends, but they know who are their physical friends. They
Yes.
make
Right.
sure they know who are their physical friends,
Right.
but yet you don't know who are cyberspace friends. Okay,
Yes.
True.
that's what I'm talking about.
Well,
And you have a
let's-
10-year-old daughter
yeah.
with 5,000 friends. That's
Okay, I just want to reset the room a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight on Talking Safe. I can see persons on Instagram. Instagram, you're only seeing my face, but you have to go onto YouTube, Silburn TV, in order to see the full show properly. With Instagram, is just like a shop window to do to direct you over. And for those on Facebook as well, please share and like. I just want to bring in what persons are saying. Lorna Savage, thank you for coming on tonight. O'Shea Davis, parents are 21st century children themselves who many times do not understand the great responsibility that goes with raise the human being. Jermaine Johnson, technologically illiteracy was also highlighted. Our system does not provide the support for the parents, neither for the educators. I want to go straight into solutions and what is the government of Jamaica doing? Somebody raised a point the other day. I don't know who I was speaking to because I was speaking to one of you guys before the show. Someone said that when the children are coming back to school, maybe they should have had a month of familiarizing themselves back with their teachers, because someone was saying, like, I think Raymond Treasure, my principal of York Castle High School, who was my classmate, he said, Silburn, what you don't understand is that some children have started school and we have never met them. Some children have moved from here to next year and they don't know them. There's not a relationship which is built and established. What is the government of Jamaica saying in regards to this? Not that particular point, but I want to throw that one out first to whoever want to pick that one up, and anybody on the chat site as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can say because the government has what is called the Ministry of Education, as we know, and there is the guidance segment of the Ministry of Education, and there is the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education also.
Yes.
So from a government standpoint, it is clear that there's a push now for there to be psychosocial teams in each school, right? Of course, we know that, during the COVID pandemic time, this psychosocial team is supposed to be addressing issues like you just described, and implementing things that will appeal to the children and help them to transition from, them at home doing pretty much, many of them are regulating their own activities, to now being asked to follow instructions and be on time for certain places and be properly dressed. There is indeed the need for a transition and some kind of space there. What we have seen is that some principals, because the principal also represents the Ministry of Education, some administrations are allowing little things like, no bag challenge. What do you call it?
Nothing but a bad day.
Nothing but a bad day, right? Of course, there's the parenting aspect of it too, where we try to reach the parents in terms of even from a, like I said, the whole term now is called the psychosocial, being sensitive to the psychosocial needs of the students. So, you know, some principals, like I said, you know, they try to do little things. They try, I mean, we know the hair, for example, should be a certain way. Some principals understand that, hey, you know, guys have been growing their hair. That's a thing, you know, growing up the hair.
For those who still have hair.
Right. And
they're laughing
you know, to school where they need to have their hair groomed a certain way. It is, you know, so they're understanding that it does make sense being too hard and fast. So relax it a little bit. And relative to the devices and all of that, to the use of devices. So the wise administrators, while trying to be a stickler to the rules, are understanding that, you know, you can't be too hard and fast. You have to kind of give a little space. So some teachers, I know one principal has said to his students that come September, you won't be allowed to bring a device to school. But, you know, it's neither here or there now. Read them allowed to bring their phones. And, of course, we know exam students, they need their devices. So it's a balancing act, like I said before, because students have been used to running their own lives. And now they are back into that setting where they are being called upon to follow rules and regulations. So it is a little tricky.
Okay. Let's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, seeing that we're on the government. Another thing too, since I mentioned about relaxing, I think it's fitting to mention about the restructuring of the curriculum. If you look at the curriculum, it's a one size fit all. So every students are being expected to learn the same thing at the same time, regardless of what learning level they are. We were once mentioning of how advanced they are technologically. They're also creative. These children now, they're very creative. They're very good with their hands. And where the curriculum is concerned, it is focused on grades. And you find that if you have a student who is not well with the arithmetic, they just can't pass it for whatever reason. They're categorized, and whether I would like to accept it or not, they're also ostracized because they are deemed as failing. But for that same child, if you give that child a paintbrush and a paint, or if you give them a hair, they work wonders. So I think not just allowing them to come to school with their hair how they are, but to meet them. This is what they like. They like to use their hands. I am not saying that we should dismiss reading and writing, because reading is vital, but we need to restructure the curriculum in such a way that we cater for their creativity. We need to also look at that, because they express themselves in different ways. And we have expectations, and because we used to things like this is what we expect. Okay, growing up, we used to get 90s and 100. It is the same thing. We're expecting you to always get good grades, A, B plus, but some of them, they can't do it. They can't. Okay. So we need to tailor the curriculum to incorporate their creativity also.
But thank you for that. Before I go on to anyone, Jody Marie, welcome. How are you doing?
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Yeah, she's drinking because she's one of the regulars on Talk and Sip. One of my co-hosts, Jody. Jody is one of the persons that keep bringing up this topic every week when we have been having this show about the state of the school and students. Jody, before we go back into the government bit and get into more solution, but your overview, Jody, if you can share your point now that you have gotten the people here, because you keep saying we need to talk about this topic.
You've been saying this for months, almost a year, if not more, in Silvern. Um,
Yes.
from COVID started, so we're into 2 years now, and I'm happy we have educators here on the program this evening. And Sophia just rightly said it. It's something we've been said it, and you were a little bit hesitant in saying that maybe we don't need to do away with the old system, Sophia, but we do need to get away from the old system. It doesn't apply anymore. It will not. Our children will be worse off if we continue to push the old curriculum, push the whole system. They're going to be worse off for it, and they're going to be what should I say now? Dinosaurs in a real world, and it's going to be hard for them to recover. The truth of it is, I've told them and I've shared many times that for me, when it comes, I say do the system because it's what works, and you're just doing it because it is the system. But what do you want to do? And then what I do is I groom them in what they want to be doing, system. So we as educators, we need to look at what it is that will benefit them in the future. What is it that's going to make a difference in another 10, 50, they're going to be the adults. How is it that they're going to be effective in the next 10, 15 years?
Okay, that's a good point. Let me just bring in Miss Jacqueline, Bryan, since we got everyone here now. Jacqueline, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
Thank you. I know you said you're going to be a bit late, but I've got a colleague who's a social worker in the UK, and Sam. Jacqueline, Bryan, if I'm not mistaken, you are the chair or president of the Association of Social Workers.
Jamaica Association of Social Workers.
Good, fantastic. And you're maybe I don't know how much you've been listening, but we're at
I have not been able to.
Yeah, I know, because you're doing something. But can you give us your overview, please? Because we're now into the whole solution aspect. And I said to you already after my conversation with you that I will have to have a show with you alone. But if you want to share some of your overview with the whole topic on hand and leading to solutions.
We're looking at solutions. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, we're looking at solution. But because you just came in, you can give an overview because you're the guidance counselor and also social worker at Haile Selassie High School.
Okay. Our children have been affected by COVID-19, for between 2 years of not being in a space that they're used to, a space where they were encouraged to follow certain boundaries and guidelines, and most children spend most of their time at school, and a lot of our parents, even though even teachers who were parents were challenged by the circumstances that they found themselves in, of being a parent as well as a teacher of their own child. And there are some parents who did not have that opportunity at all. They lost all of that exposure. And think of a grade 6 child who is moving from grade 6 to grade 7 or first form and has never seen their school, don't know what their school look like, don't know what it is like to go into high school. And you spend all of grade 7 of not being in school and not interacting with anybody different. And that opportunity, your mental health, because children learn by interaction. And sometimes they correct each other, because we have peer educators who will say, no, that's not how it's done. Try this way. So they learn from their peers. If you're isolated and at home and in a setting where you're not having that interaction with your peers, to say this is the way to go or this is not the way to go. And if somebody's directing you you have a group thing that somebody's saying to you, okay, fine, if you've chosen to go adversely, somebody's going to pull you, your own friend is going to pull you back and say, no man, you can't operate like that. That's not right. They have lost 2 years of that, of checks and counterbalances by their peers, as well as by authority figure, whether the teacher, whether the admin staff, whether the ancillary staff, interacting on public transportation with each other, the bus conductor, the bus driver. So they've lost all of that. So they have now to relearn that. And the solution, one of the solutions for me is that the first month of school, no academics, no
I agree.
at all.
Yeah.
It is just sit down, have a conversation with the child, and find out where is their headspace. What have they experienced? How do they feel? They're going through puberty, which is already confusing. And then to place the pandemic on top of that, that is just think about how we felt as adults. The walls are some. I've had persons describe and say to me, Miss Bryan, I feel as if the walls were closing in on me, and that's an adult speaking. A child between the ages of 11 and 17 don't know how to express that. And especially if we're dealing with males, verbal is not their thing. So they're going to act it out. So have you say something that is going to trigger, they're going to push before they speak, because they have not been told to say, okay, all right, as adults, we're still dysregulated. We have not balanced ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically. We as adults are still adjusting. What is our expectation of our adolescents between the age 11
I have a question for Jacqueline. Super.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Jacqueline, as a social worker and as a part of the Social Workers Association, you said you're that's the one you you had. All right.
Yes.
Did you get any did you get anything from the government to say, okay, this is how we're going to approach these situations after school was open? I just asking. I don't want you to put anybody in trouble, and I don't want you to put yourself in trouble. I just ask because it's very important to find out. Did you get like a booklet, a briefing to say, all right, we are going to be heading back in? What is the plan? Is there a plan?
They asked us to prepare a psychosocial plan. So that how are we know our population, how are we going to address the issue? We did, when students returned to our school, we did a survey. We conducted a survey with our students to find out how they were affected by the pandemic. How did they feel about it? What were their feelings, their experiences, their exposure? And for them, a lot of them, the situation was compounded by they were feeling less than even before the pandemic. I recall one young man in a focus session that we had said, Miss, nothing not changed for me, or the same thing. Miss, that student had no access to online learning. So that's even a challenge, because he had no access to online learning. Miss, a face-to-face, I have to do it, because I was not exposed to online learning. They had to use a phone. And when I tried to use my phone to access certain class app that we were using based on what Ministry of Education shared with us, the manipulation was frustrating. They could not, and most of my students were using cell phones to access before the government rolled out the tablets. And the tablets was rolled out for grade 11 students. So grade 7, 8, 9, and 10 students did not get laptops at the time. A lot of past student association, a lot of well-thinking Jamaicans reached out to us and assisted with tablets. But they're saying, and World Health Organization, that irrespective of what is happening, it's best to have face-to-face school, because of the interaction that is needed in this adolescent stage, and it is better for students, for children to have that kind of access to school.
I have another question.
Yes.
Before you go on to the next question, I want to pick up on that point, Jacqueline, because I raised it and I was trying to remember who mentioned it to me about that month, that breathing space of that month to get to know, familiarize yourself back with your students. You were the one because you just raised it a while ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that boat gone? Have we missed that boat, or can it happen again? I mean, is that boat gone?
No, the boat is not gone because the feelings are still there. There's still trauma. Yes. And trauma is not only about when somebody's trauma and grief is not only when somebody dies. Yes. It's trauma and grief is about loss. And you have lost friendship. Yes. You have lost connection. When we talk about social distance, I get very annoyed. I get very irritated and very annoyed because we are social beings and we need to have social interaction. So you cannot ask us and talk about physical distance, yes, but not social distancing. It's a misnomer. Yeah. We need to interact socially as human beings. That is part and part of who we are as individuals. So we need to interact. We need to connect. We need to link.
Yes. Can I just run through the panel, and Jody, we'll come back to you the question. Andrew, what do you think about that gap, that 1 month bit to familiarize yourselves back with students, getting back to know them for that 2 years?
Yeah, well, certainly. Like as I was saying earlier, the psychosocial teams in each school were expected to do this. The reality, though, is that when your child is about to sit exams,
exactly,
so the balance again, because you're trying to get them situated in terms of all of that, social reorganization of their minds and emotions and whatever. But at the same time, the exams are coming up, and so parents are going to be pressuring you to prepare them to complete the syllabus. And so, but like I said, we just have to keep trying to do little things that make them feel, valued, so on, and that make them connect with who they are as persons, and begin to make that reconnect with that very organized school setting.
Yeah. Donna, can you go into that question again? And how can it be done if there's not a structure which is set out by the government that this is a month for this, but how can it be done at the same time, based on that good point which is raised by Jacqueline? I'm going to bring it around to Mr. Boynes, Sophie, and then I'm going to ask Sam her view from the UK perspective. Donna, yes.
Well, if the government puts it in place, there would need to be a buy-in by the principals. I know that there are some principals who took the time to do needs assessment and did orientation, just like a week of orientation. Some people did not rush. Some principals didn't rush immediately into class. And there were principals who sat and planned with their staff to just let the students express themselves, to let the staff reflect. There needed to be reflection. I mean, the first day I went back to school, I was sitting down and there were students. I lost my grandmother, I lost my auntie, I lost my cat. Right. So there needed to have been that unwinding. And so there are teachers. I lead a network of teachers, and I encourage the teachers to do two things: to reflect. We are also Christians, and so we spend the time to seek the true wisdom from above, right? And that is needed, because I've been to several classes since, and students have said, "Miss, can you pray? Can you pray for me?" Right? So it's going to take the spiritual, the social, the everything. It's going to take everything to get this done.
Yeah. And Sir Boynes, pick up on that point there regarding that month, and how one can sort of familiarize self with strangers back, because they are strangers after 2 years sometimes. Yeah.
Well, it's a good idea, but I want to remind us that the role of government is not to replace parents or family. The Ministry of Education is just there to facilitate, not to, the Minister of Education cannot come into my house and turn my heart towards my children or turn my children's heart towards me. So it'll be good, for the ministry to facilitate as much as possible. But the Ministry of Education is just a facilitator. It's not the responsibility of the ministry to make sure that my son's mind is oriented in the correct way. Okay, it's just not possible. They can only facilitate, make sure there's a school down the road, maybe give a tablet here and do different things here and there. But we cannot make the government responsible for the values which are implanted in the hearts of our children, and the whole issue of community, that whole facility, that 1 month idea is to reorient children. The social aspect should be a strong process inside of the home. Okay, during the pandemic, I did things with my children. Okay, we had online birthday parties, we did this, we did that, all sort of different things. Okay, so that even coming down to the social aspect, it all comes. I may sound like a broken record, I'm sure, but it comes right back to the family structure and the government support and facilitate where they are. So it's a good idea, and I think it should be implemented. A lot of children who don't have strong functional structures in their homes, especially, they would benefit a lot. Okay, but there are certain aspects of the development, like my sister there, Norma, I think the name, spoke about the spiritual aspect.
Yes.
Okay, in government schools, that is becoming very controversial because everybody's from a different religion or have none at all. But at home, that's not an argument. And
Yes.
spiritual development can take place and can be strongly emphasized because we are also spiritual beings.
Yes.
We are firstly spiritual beings, and we have all of those different aspects towards us. Okay,
Thanks,
so I think it's a good idea, but we can't put the responsibility solely on the government.
Okay, Sophia, what's your take on it? And I go to
I'm
Sam.
trying to put there's just a whole lot going on in my mind. I'm trying to put it together. It's not a matter of putting the responsibility on the government. I think we need to not look at things in isolation, but look at it as it's a togetherness thing. So I agree there should have been a 1 month period, even 2 weeks, right? But the issue is, again, I don't want to sound like a scratch record, but there is the curriculum, and as it was mentioned about the exam, so we're so result driven. If you have some school taking that time to do the social aspect of it for the 1 month, another school, they're back into the curriculum. So those doing the social time, they would have lost contact learning time because there's a PEP exam coming up. So that's why the ministry play such a pivotal role. Their role is so important. If they set a standard to say, this is what we're gonna do, everybody doing the same thing at the same time. So it won't be a case where some will be missing out and some will not be missing out. Some will be where they're supposed to be. So every school, 1 month, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a break from the work and we're going to focus on what is happening with the children and kind of help them to mend, so to speak. So everybody is doing the same thing. So we need to stop look at things in isolation and realize that in order to get things done, we need to work as one. Everybody needs to be on the same page, doing the same thing at the same time, aiming to get the same result. So that 1 month thing would have been good. It would have been an excellent thing, and I applaud the principals who accommodated that, right? But we need the ministry to set a certain standard
The
to
framework
ensure
or
that
something like that.
everybody is What was that? Excuse me?
Setting a framework. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All
Sylvan,
right.
just a quick intervention, please.
Yes, please.
I think it should be up to the principals to decide when this month will be, because different schools are at different places and have different needs. Some schools have strong families, okay, so they might just need 1 week.
Yes.
While next school might need, their needs might be different. The timings might be different and the amount of time for the socializing idea. So I think the principal is the one who can make the best call, and I think it should be a one-size-fits-all approach.
Sam, in the UK here, when we went back, we never went for 2 years for the children. But what's your take on what Jacqueline mentioned and your perspective for the UK here, and what are your thoughts on it?
In terms of the UK, the transition for our children, and we're talking about primary age from 5 right up to the age of 17, there was I think we're maybe 8 months or so ahead. So last year there was children going back to school in bubbles, which they will call them. So different age bubbles they were going to school. There were summer schools that were set up as well. Teachers were taking time off of their summer holidays to accommodate for the children. And you're right, the children couldn't go straight back into academics. It was more of a trauma-based practice led. So as I said, we've got pastoral support, which is set up. I'm a social worker in England. I would say between COVID and now, so currently we have 400 plus children on a child protection plan. So that's only one borough of 32 boroughs within London, right? So that's 400 children, as well as 400 looked after children. So they would have got specialist help. So they would have all got tablets. Now there's children who slipped through the net as well, but those children who are mandatory meant to be in school age, so from 5 to 17, they were getting additional help, as I said, welfare visits from pastoral support, going to the homes, making sure that our children were safe, what was happening within the household as well, because they're dealing with trauma at home. But it was government led as well. There was a whole government shift. So there is a framework. This was what is expected. Schools were meant to be open, and that's why I'm saying now the government has changed the shift to we're no longer accommodating. Well, they're accommodating the psychosocial, but if the children are off school, there's now going to be penalties for the parents. So for 2.5 years, they held off for penalties. So here they will fine you for not sending your children to school. It can go up to 120 English pounds for each parent if you don't send your children to school. And that's a criminal offence in the UK. So there's an actual criminal conviction that you can get potentially. Now, they held off for 2.5 years whilst COVID was going on, but there was definitely a framework led from the government. This is the expectation. But there is a high level of mental health support. There's a high level which will come under pastoral support. Yes. Children's services have to also be involved, because if there's any issues about children are in need, under the Children's Act, we have to support them. And if there's child protection, we also have to support them. So we have a high level of children who are on our caseload because they're suffering trauma. So if you think about in just one area, we have to be trauma-based. That's the only way that we can work. We have to go with trauma-based focus, because it's not just their parent, it's not just the child who's traumatized, their parents are. They've lost grandparents, cousins. They haven't, as you said, that spiritual level, they haven't been going to church. We have a lot of in the UK, so we have also Muslim community, we also have the Judaism community. Sometimes we don't hear no information from those sets of children, so I very rarely get a referral from the Jewish population. However, they were going to the synagogue, they were praying, because if you go past in their communities, you would see them together during the COVID period. So certain religious groups were still holding that spiritual level of togetherness, and we saw that for ourselves. The government tried to crack down on it, even down to we're in close proximity, but we are praying, we're religious people. So there are many groups, and that would also be Sikh groups, Muslim groups, and also Christian groups, Rastafarian groups were here also, which kept the spiritual level for their children. Those value bases were there. But many of our parents, as I said, they're fractured. They're fractured themselves, and the school were second parents. So, for example, there was a big government thing. Our children no longer know how to use knife and fork. So I was like, what are you talking about? Because that's taught from at home. What happened between 0 and 5? Why do you expect the school to be teaching these children? So that was a big thing in the UK, and I was just shocked about it. Like, is that one of the statistics what came out of COVID, that our children have lost the means to use knife and fork? Now, I know you can use chicken with your hand, but when you're cutting the dumpling, you're going to have to cut it with an implement, yeah? So what I'm saying is I didn't understand where that was lost along the way. Out of all the statistics you could gather, the UK government, that was the one you honed in on. So again, if that's a true statistic, that's a failure within families. That cannot be put on the school to teach me how to use knife and fork. So I support about the value basis, but again, I'm dealing with parents who should not necessarily be parents. You know, here we have animal licenses. You have to have a license to get an animal. You have to have a license to drive a car. You have to have a license for everything. But you can just push out, pick this up.
License for watch TV. You have license for watch TV too, innit?
Right, you understand? You got to jail for not having TV license here. But you know, 20 plus years. I love my children. I love my babies. They're all mine. I serve them all, right? I'm in a place of God, right? I serve my children. See them parents there? That's all I've got to say on that. Give me strength.
Okay, let me go on to Jacqueline. Come back to this.
I love you too. You feel my pain.
You and I are kindred spirit, because I spend that all the time. You get a license to drive a car, right? You get a license to
watch TV as well.
There's a song that goes. I was talking to Sil. I messaged Sil and talk about anywhere the music is, I start dance. But there's a song that says, I wish that a marriage license was just like a driver's license. I wish parents had to get license.
Yes, for real.
Some of them, Lord help me, Jesus. Seriously. Have the former speaker was talking about the family should be the one that be instilling values. I was sharing last night about the fact that there was a time in our country in Jamaica where every parent, irrespective of whether you went to church, would send your child to Sunday school.
Yes.
And the values you learned at Sunday school made us, one, it provide you with a coping skills. We have found that individuals who have some connection to Supreme Being, whether you're a Rastafarian, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you are Jewish, once you have that connection to that Supreme Being, as counselors, as social workers, those individuals' coping skills are so much better than those who do not have any coping skills, any connection with a spiritual being. It is a proven that their coping skills are okay, because you pray, you recite the Quran, you chant, whatever it is that you do. And that exposure, not only in the traditional religious aspect of things, but the family aspect of being a part of a structured religious community, spiritual community, that support base that you get from that spiritual community in which you are associated, you can rely on. I think it was Donette who spoke about her teachers being Christian, and that connects you. That connects you.
Yeah.
That makes you feel not so isolated. When somebody, we would reach out to you and speak to you and check upon you. That was part and part of our spiritual connection. And when I speak to some of my students, church, even before the pandemic, church, Miss me couldn't tell last time we go to church. So they're and that's why we're having the violence in school, because that lesson learned of compassion and forgiveness
and love, love your neighbor as you love yourself, irrespective of whether you are Christian or you're Rastafarian or Muslim. That is a base, because if you are going to look into your brother's eyes and see yourself and identify that you are connected in that way, you are not going to be so quick to want to hate.
You're not going to be so quick to want to take up a knife or take up a gun. I was so surprised when the Texas shooting happened in school, when Whoopi Goldberg said on The View that there has been, since the start of the year in the United States, 212 mass shootings. I was like blown over. And when you talk to, because I'm one of those social workers, I want to sit down and have a conversation with the perpetrator, because I want to know where your headspace is. What made you, what was going in, and I've had conversation with individuals who have said, Miss, I don't know. Something, an illustration I use every time. I don't know. Anybody here clothes iron?
Clothes iron?
Yeah, the iron.
Yeah, I do iron.
When you plug an iron in, right? Yeah. After a while, there sometimes where it joins, after using it over time, it starts getting frayed.
Frizzle.
And frizzle. And when you plug that iron in, sometimes it gets hot and sometimes it doesn't get hot. That's the illustration I've used all the time. And it will charge and get hot sometime, and it won't get hot sometime. That is what sometimes happens to the brains of these individuals who perpetrate certain things. They have been over time having to get that. There's an enamel in an iron that gets heated at a certain point in time. And sometimes that enamel gets destroyed from overuse or misuse.
Yes.
Because of the kind of, you're going to put water in there that you're not supposed to put in there. In the iron, and not, you put a certain kind of water in there. Think about it. It's a thing that we use. Yeah. And you put the wrong water in that iron.
Can mess it up.
And it messes it up. So the thing that we do to our children, we put the wrong water inside of them.
I want to bring into the point here, though. Jody wanted to ask you a question, but I want us to think on this point here: conflict, managing conflict, because I don't think we can wait for 4 months, to deal with all these conflicts now. A lot of conflict with children. But Jody, you wanted to say something to Jacqueline?
Well, the question I had for Jacqueline, is the two extremes. There were two extremes. There were those who had access to the internet, access to the schooling. They grasped it very well. They did very well online. They were able to adapt, and then they had to go back to the traditional system versus those who did not.
I didn't like it.
Jody,
sorry,
can you just
I didn't hear that.
Sorry, Jody, 1 second. Jody, just share the show for a second. Yeah, I'll be back a second.
All right. So what I was saying is, Jacqueline, there were some persons who adjusted and adapted to the online system, had to switch back. But then there were a few things to a few things, right? Because I thought there were two extremes. There were those who weren't in connection, none at all, and they had to come back to school, and so they were lost. And then they did really well at the online, and then they had to go back to chalkboards, right? Both experienced lost, just switched realities. They had to move from one extreme to the next, both. So how do you deal with those two dynamics? Because I thought it was stupid to make them adapt for 2 years and then take them back to chalkboard and sit down in a classroom with textbook. I thought it was very, I don't know if stupid is a strong word, but I'm not going to mince my words here. I think it was a very stupid thing to do, right? Make them adjust. It's like like when you're at work and they give you a new system to work with at work, and they said, this is what we're going to be doing now. And then just as you get into the groove of learning how to do it, then they take it back and say, hey, no, we're not going to do this again. And then it takes you a whole long time again to get used to the old system again. So the adaptation for both sets, I found, Jacqueline, was just really ridiculous. No, Sam mentioned something. First, I'm gonna talk about something that Wesley said. Wesley was saying it's not the government responsibility. Then whose responsibility is it? Because this is the thing: the government is the one who sets laws. They're the ones who set the legislations. They're the ones who took our freedom away for 2 years. They had the power to do it, and they did it. They could have chosen not to do it, and they did it. They locked us down. Full stop. Adults, children alike, we never had a choice. Now that you've done this, what are you going to place to deal with the side effects of what you implemented? If you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you the wrong medication and it causes a side effect, whose responsibility is to treat that patient? It is that doctor, that same doctor who implemented the medication. You have side effects. Now, how are you going to treat my side effects? That's exactly what the government did. You locked us down. Now you have to look at all the possible things that could happen with a lockdown and now prepare a plan, just as Sam said they did in the UK. He said something very specific. He said trauma. Everybody went through everybody is going through PTSD. Everybody. Has there been a plan to deal with PTSD? Everybody is going through PTSD. Children, adults, everybody.
No, in the UK,
what happened to Russia? What happened to Russia and Ukraine? That is as a result of PTSD. People, they foresaw what was going to happen next, and they're trying to secure themselves because they're afraid of the trauma that is going to happen.
Yeah.
So they started to act to prevent it to happen in Ukraine, and that is what's happening to the rest of the world.
Well, remember,
countries.
Putin. Hang on 1 minute. Putin was threatening the war with Ukraine for 8 years anyway.
I'm
just going to divert. I just want to throw this in. So Ukraine for us in the UK, Ukraine, why is this happening to white children with blonde hair and blue eyes? They didn't say that about Syria. They don't say that about Africa. They put on the same pictures about Africa with the same mosquito flying around with a picnic, right? So we're meant to accept these families, and it's cool. It's through war, I understand. But do you know they're not
going to be sent to Rwanda?
1 minute. Do you know there's a whole population of black children in the Ukraine? Okay, so many of the African men go there and impregnate the women. Those women cannot have those children within their families. They have to go into care. So you've got a whole population of black mixed race children whose hair looks picky, who have been looked after by white people. No one talks about that. You will not see that on the UK news. You have to infiltrate and go elsewhere to find out that information. That's never going to be put up. The Ukraine is one of the most racist countries there is. When you talk about a national front, that's where you're talking about. Nazi, that's where you're talking about. It doesn't mean I'm not going to help them, but we need to understand what that is. Putin's been threatening war for 8 years, so they had enough preparation. We didn't have no preparation for COVID when they was going to release it, y'all.
Exactly.
We are more prepared now, but in terms of just answering your question, in terms of what support is needed, you need to set up a system for your children and your parents. It's got to be there. The system. Why are we going to reinvent the wheel? So you said about there being on iPads and going back into school. Our schools are using the tablets still. So they're still setting homework on the tablets. But children need to understand what a book feels like. You need to be able to turn. I'm looking at it in your background, Jacqueline. I can see books. There's nothing more beautiful than reading a book and holding it and smelling those pages and putting, bending the pages over, putting that mark in the book. There's nothing else more better than that. Speaking in your head in a different accent. You can't get that on a tablet, right? But we also have to move with the time because it's 2022. The only person in the world who hasn't got a mobile phone is my mother. All right, so she refuses. I repent from Jesus from that. She has not got a mobile phone. She's not having it, right? She's 86. I'm from Kingston. I don't need no mobile phone. Just ring me on the landline, right? But you need, what I'm saying is, why can't you take some of the copies what are in the UK, because there is a framework there that you could use. I know it's government led, but there's loads of stuff in terms of how the schools have adapted.
Sam, I'm going to link you with Jacqueline. I'm going to link you with Jacqueline. That my sister was online earlier. My sister said the panel should work together. Sometimes you got to use it.
Yes, I saw it. I saw that comment. But in response to what Sophia said about at this time I'm saying this: the government did not say everybody go to school at the same time. That was not the course. What happened, it was in phase. So you had grade 11 coming in, then grade 10, then grade 9. So it was a phase return to school, and then you did that. Primary students didn't come in until way before that. I don't know about any other school, and I that's remiss of me in not talking to my other social workers who are in schools to find out from them. But what we have done, and I hear parents asking, why have we done that? We have grade 8 students coming in Monday to Thursday. They don't come in on a Friday. We have grade 9 and 10 coming in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and grade 10 coming in Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And what is supposed, as you said rightly, they are to check their email that they had previously for homework and for lessons that have been uploaded. So it's a hybrid. We're not having, because again, the issue of, we had hoped and dreamed of doing a hybrid where we had cameras in our classroom and those who were at home could still access the classes. But we don't have the money nor the technology to do that. So what is simply being done is that the PowerPoints are uploaded to the site, and homework is given, and you access them and you do that on the days that you are not in school. On the days that you're not in school, you're still having access to interact, and we know when they come online. We know when they check, right? And there are parents who are saying, but every other school said, no, why your school do this? What's going on? You know, but it is that you cannot, it's not okay to, as you rightly said, to say we're doing this.
Yes.
And then immediately we just cut off and just don't gradually phase them back in.
Yes. Well,
so that's what we have done.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, we're at the end of wrapping up the show. But I can let Sir Boynes go. But Sir Boynes, before you go, sir, you're not going it. Before you go, I can really, not that I can release you. You're released whenever you want to go. But what would you say, sir, in closing? Your sort of checkpoints or way forward, even looking at the whole conflict resolution bit regarding students and children, and the based on the topic, sir.
I think we have to go back to the partnership between the school and the home. Okay, that is what will make the education process a very powerful and productive one. Instead of dumping a child in the school, I mean, I had one parent told the principal straight that when the child come in the evening, she don't call the parent, she don't call the principal. So when she sends the child to school in the day, the principal shouldn't call her because there were issues with the child, and that was the parent's position. This was a private school, and when I spoke to the parent about that comment, I used to help with the counseling. She said she pays a school fee, and she thought that when she pays a school fee, you know, she will not have to deal with issues with that child during the day. That's school's responsibility, and I find the same attitude with public school parents as well. Once you send your child to school, a lot of parents are bawling because during the pandemic, they now had to deal with the child. It wasn't so much about the technology and so on, it was dealing with the child. Okay, I listen to some of the voices. I can't deal with this child. They just want school to open so they can send back this child to school. And a lot of the parents just didn't want to deal with their own children. This was not strange, their own children. So school is treated as some babysitting sort of arrangement. Okay, so we have to go back to the old time arrangement. It's a partnership. Parents are involved when we need you. When the principal says you need to come here, You find a way to get there. Because you have
Yes.
a problem with the son or your daughter. As long as the government have to provide this and that and the other, and you send your child and you don't have nothing to do with it until exam time, you just want to know your child has passed an exam, that's a faulty, inaccurate, and dysfunctional approach. Education is a partnership between school and the home. Any arrangement outside of that is doomed for failure as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Boynes. On that note, have a wonderful, enjoy the mango and the yaman banana in Jamaica.
Yes, and God bless all of my fellow panelists.
Thank you.
See you again.
Okay.
Very soon. All of
And
this.
I got the contact links for everybody so we can always share each other. Okay, thank you, Sir
God
Boynes.
bless you.
Have a good
Okay.
evening, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Yeah. If I continue going around now, Andrew and Donnet, what's your last take?
I would like to really underscore what was just shared about the hybrid or blended approach to learning. I think we made some real good gains in some regards. We developed a lot of skills that we didn't before as educators, and the children also were able to really advance themselves. So I think we need to use that approach. Don't throw away the technology that we have learned.
Well, I think thank you again for inviting us. I think there needs to be more needs assessment. We need to pull out everything that can be pulled out, call even for the retired teachers if needs be,
Exactly.
and do a lot. Government needs to pump a lot of money to get children to get extra lessons to fill up their learning gaps. I also want to say, based on God's time clock, we will be having other pandemics. It's just a sign of the time. So we need to be prepared, body, soul, and spirit, and rely on God for that true wisdom that comes from above.
Thank you very much, Andrew and Donnet. And Sophia, McCoy, Miss Thompson.
I have a dream that one day everyone will work together. See, it as their responsibility to ensure that whatever it is that we want to see, especially a bright future for our children, everybody to see it as their responsibility. All the necessary stakeholders, the home, the school, the church, the community, organizations, world of work, everybody coming together as a one to accomplish certain things for a worthy cause of our children. So that's my dream. Everybody working together.
Yes. And Jacqueline, Miss Bryan, what's
We
just to let you know, we have a show we have to do together, you and me, one day. But we just touched the tip of the iceberg in dealing with this thing. But yeah, what's your take, Miss Bryan?
We definitely need to have assessment, and not just needs assessment, but assessment of our children, because there are a lot of our students who was mentioned by Sophia about post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes.
And the cost for assessment in Jamaica is very prohibitive, and Michael Assess Care is one of the most renowned, and there's a waiting list as long as your arm.
Yes, a very long.
I mean, people have to wait at least a year sometimes
or more.
Is getting worse. We need to have, because that helps in terms of your mental health. Because if as a parent you know that your child has this challenge, and then you can then put in place. We have assessment for literacy and numeracy, so and you put in learning and for learning styles, but for mental health and for diagnosing of children's challenges, whether it's ADHD, whether it's post-traumatic stress disorder, any kind of psychological assessment, it is not done because the cost is prohibitive. So this is where I'm calling on my government. Because you have put certain things in place in our school for academic and literacy assessment. Psychological assessment needs to be done. COVID has brought this to the fore. That there's the need for the psychological assessment so that we can then address the issues that are bothering not only our members of staff, our students, but also our members of staff.
Yes.
There's a need.
Well, Marva Lover said Jamaica need to commission longitudinal and developmental studies on short-term and long-term effect of the mental health impact
of COVID.
Yeah. And
psychological first aid. Yeah.
Yes. Many of the children that have dropped out of school through no fault of their own. Some have joined gangs. Some of their parents cannot afford lunch money and bus fare. Very sad reality. Sam, the last word. I tell you why I want Donnet and Sophia just to stay a bit, and maybe Miss Bryan is just to talk about what you guys do. Otherwise, give it a little push for your other stuff. Sam, what's your last say?
Trauma. We need to be thinking trauma-based work. Majority of education now are looking on that. We understand from in the womb our children are traumatized. Okay, so if you're traumatized from in the womb, it's highly probable there are going to be concerns from when you're 5 in preschool. There's going to be issues. Again, I go back to the parenting. We've got parents who taking crack cocaine, heroin, etc., etc. If we do not think about trauma, domestic violence within the womb, mental health, and the literal impact, aside from COVID, we are not going to get anywhere. Our drive is, for example, everything else is corporate. So we are all corporate parents, right? But you, as a parent who gave birth, okay, and father, you have parental responsibility. So it does boil down to you, because legally it boils down to you. So if you do not get your children to school, it boils down to you. But coming back to the mental health of our children, in the UK now, what they're saying is if children are at risk in terms of self-harming, suicidal ideation, they should have a risk assessment within 6 weeks. So our CAMD is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service. So they need to be seen by a psychiatrist within 6 weeks of referral, and that support should be put through. However, the truth of reality is we're talking 18 months in reality for many of our children. But they see it, again, it's government driven, it's health driven, national health, etc. So you do need those drivers behind you. You do need those stakeholders, because it's not going to just be from you and me and the church. It's not going to work that way. The government needs to invest in our children. It's the investment in the future generation. That's what that is about.
That's well said. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. But before I go, I just want Andrew and Donnet just to tell us about in a couple of minutes about their ministry as well.
Yes, so we do a ministry called Passion and Purity, finding your passion, embracing your purity, and that has started since 2008. We have written quite a few books that are geared towards teenage readers, but of course a lot of our adults who are around, inclusive of teachers, have been through trauma during their teen years, and therefore a lot of what we are sharing are also beneficial for adults, because time does not heal wounds. It has to be addressed directly, and so that's one of the emphasis that we do. We also have Marriage is Honorable, which is focusing on the family side of things, and of course Christian teachers.
Just to say that Passion and Purity, we host seminars, workshops, high school conferences, mega conferences across Jamaica, and you see thousands of students just plug into purpose. We also lead what is called Christian Teachers in Action, which is a group for fellowship, intervention, sharing strategies, a network of teachers and guidance counselors who network to pray, but not just to pray, but to strategize and to seek divine wisdom for some of the ills that we are facing in our country.
Jody just said on Instagram, she got cucked out. On Instagram, she said, "I know passion and purity." Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any last any more you want to say? Or that's it? Yes.
Just to say that there is hope. There is hope. I'm telling you, there is hope. If we network and seek that divine wisdom, God's waiting for us to talk
Amen.
to him.
For real.
Amen. And Sophia McCoy Thompson, you're M4. You are in the process of even creating your own school or developing. You can just share a bit on that as well. I don't know.
Yes,
Just promote my fellow Jamaican. What can I say? You know.
yes. So the Thompson-Mckoy, founder and owner of Import Tutoring Services that offer private tutoring, whether it's for reading or for mathematics. I do small groups. Also, right now I'm operating in my personal space. I recently located somewhere, so I'm actually building right now to accommodate my tutoring service. I also do my own notebooks. I create my own notebook. Super proud of myself.
Okay.
Yes, and I put content at the back. Summarize content. Thick books, different covers. They're attractive.
Oh wow.
Yes, yes. So I do different covers. I realized that some children don't know our prime ministers by name, so I went ahead, bold move, and I did this.
Is it Brogard? Right? Is that name Brogard? Brogard is the prime minister.
And Mama P. Brogard and Mama P. Yes, so that's what I'm currently doing. I've always been passionate of owning my own early childhood center, so that also is in the pipeline. But currently, it's import tutoring, one-on-one service or small group, and my notebook.
Yes,
done by me. Yours truly.
Well, allow me to support you. I mean, we made a connection through my colleague Diane, so allow me to support your network as well. And Sam, did you want to say anything, Sam?
Yep. In terms of myself, social worker for 20 plus years, love serving my children. I also work for the courts. That's how I first initially met Silborn. So yeah, just continue with the fight for our children. Won't stop. Continuing praising the Alpha and Omega every single time.
Awesome. And Jacqueline?
I am currently the president of Jamaica Association of Social Workers, an organization that was founded in 1968. It's an umbrella organization for social workers in Jamaica. It is completely voluntary. Nobody gets a salary. And we presently have 7 chapters. Our most active is St. Anne, 7 zones, which are comprising of chapters. And our most active chapters as present is St. Anne and St. Thomas. And we have Mandeville, Manchester, that is very, very active in terms of our chapter. And we're working on the other chapters to get them up and running. And we're going to be sending out our newsletter shortly. Okay. So we're working on that, and we want our support of our events. We have an annual social work month activities every year in March.
Yes.
And we've had some IG Live looking at particular topics, and we'll be looking at more topics and so on.
Are you linked with social workers in the UK?
I know we are not right now, but
I know you are, Sam.
Yeah.
Yay.
We're going to be working with Sam.
Definitely.
Sure. Definitely working with Sam.
And I do know, because I'm in the legal field, so a lot of social workers are my client, and I know a lot of Jamaican ones as well.
Yes.
Just like I know Sam, so definitely I make the link, and they're very passionate about Jamaica. They're here in the UK.
We need a plan.
Yeah, they're here in the UK, going through the system in the UK, but their heart sometimes break for Jamaica. Am I right, Sam?
For real, man. For real. And what's worse, we have to also fight against the internal struggle of racism. Oh my gosh. Yes. And that breaking that system. You know, so there's other factors that we are dealing with as Black social workers, female workers as well, that we have to just be firm and strengthen our steps forward for our Black children and ourselves as practitioners. It's a hard struggle, but we're here. we're here.
Well, I foresee down the road that we'll do more shows like this as I develop creative different ideas as well. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming on, and have a wonderful night. Those in Jamaica.
Thank you for having us.
I forgot to mention that during the pandemic, I started a private Facebook group called Journey Reset.
Yes.
Which came out because of women who had reached out to me and were having some struggles. One of the explanation I talk about persons who talked about they felt as if the room was closing in on them. So we it's motivation, it's encouragement, and persons who talk and share and so on. And we used to have a Tuesday night live.
Yes.
In the group, I would share.
Sorry. Can I just stop you there because people are talking to connect you. I didn't get your email. Tell me your email address so I can just type it here at the same time. So I can you tell it to, or you want to text it to me while I can put it up there? Okay. So if you want to do that in the meantime, can you multitask? You're a lady. You must can multitask.
Yes. So I started Journey Reset in the pandemic because of women who needed a place to really reset. And so that Facebook group was started, and we kept going, and we do just encouragement. And I'm going to also share Jamaica Association of Social Workers email address with you as well.
If you send it to me in what? Oh, you send it to me in that thing. Okay, I prefer the WhatsApp. It's difficult.
Okay, all right. I'll send it to you on WhatsApp. I'll send it to you on WhatsApp.
Send it to me on WhatsApp. Yes.
All right, I'll do that.
Sam, I can pick up yours. Yeah, I pick up yours already.
Okay. So it has been that we're working on certain things happening, and it's looking at your mind, your body, and your spirit. That's what we talk about.
Yes, that's awesome. So so to contact Sam, her contact there is that. Am I correct, Sam? If that's it?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh no, it's Nubian. I think I spelled Nubian wrong.
Yeah, you put an M instead of an N.
Yeah, let me just
recorrect that. And for Martha, how did you find Chelmsford? That's interesting, being in the UK for 4 years. We definitely need to link.
Okay. So there is that's Sam contact there. And I'll just put up Jackie in a second as well. Andrew, and done it. I can release you guys, okay? Okay? Peace
nice
out.
Speaking to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Sophia, I can release you as well. Okay?
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Take
Thanks for
care.
having
Nice
me.
meeting you, Sophia.
Bye-bye.
All the best.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
All the best, my love.
Thank you. Yeah. So let me just put in.
I've sent them on WhatsApp.
Send them on WhatsApp.
Jamaica Social Work at Gmail.
Jamaica Social Work. So when you say you're gonna have some event? You mentioned some event that you're gonna have.
We're not firmed yet, so as soon as we've sorted that out, I'll send the information to you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. And what's her name? Marva, you're in the States now, isn't it? No, Marva sounds familiar, like I know Marva. So that's one of the email. It's 2 email addresses that you sent me, Jackie. Guys, Talk and Sip is like it goes on and it doesn't stop. It's a chill down show. You just have your wine or whatever and just drink.
Oh, Mama's answering and saying yes, she's in the US.
She's in the US, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your email address there. Take a time for you guys to get the email. Is that correct? Did I do it correctly there? Yeah.
Yeah, journalreset@gmail.
Yeah. And thanks for Marva for joining, O'Shea for your contribution, Jody, Lorna Savage, and different persons. Claudia City, my sister, my bigger little sister. She says she's bigger than me, so my bigger little sister. And Clifton.
So
All.
you were saying something. I'm not getting that about UIC. What was UIC?
Yes, UIC is the United Independent Congress. It's the third party of Jamaica. So,
okay.
If you want a solution, vote UIC. You know, that's Scotty as well. So, and Queen Lexi as well. So, thank you so much, Michelle Clark as well. Regular O'Shea Davis. Thank you so much again. All right, guys. Well, Sam and Jacqueline. Jacqueline,
yes.
And I'm going to release you guys. And
thank you ever so much.
Yeah, have a good night.
Sham, please link me.
And me too, definitely. It's nice linking up with you. Thank you ever so much, Sylvan. Look what you've done.
Yes.
We're unified across the oceans. That's how it's got.
Yes, thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
and I've got a lot to share with you. I've got research that I can share with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the short notice. I've been saying to the person we need short notice instead of sometimes, you need to give me 2 weeks now. I said, no, things move fast, man, because
yes, it was.
The Rwanda issue is another thing we're going to have to talk about, you know what I mean?
What have we got to wait for next week Tuesday? Is that when they're back in court? Is it Tuesday?
No, well, they lost the thing at the High Court, and I think they're going for an appeal now.
Okay.
But no Ukrainians will go there.
No, of course not. Of course not. They said already, isn't it Syrian? It is Syrian who's going on the plane. It is the Syrians, them. They already said. No, of course it won't be Ukraine.
Yeah.
And as I said, that's another whole issue when you find out there's black children in the Ukraine, and that's not been spoken about.
Yeah,
and how they've been treated.
I saw a documentary on YouTube about the children who were the mixed race children. Who have, I think some of them, I don't know if it was Ukraine, but it was another country that they ended up, could be a Ukraine, that they ended up having to go to Canada.
Yes.
Persons took them to Canada because of the treatment. Treatment, and that they were not considered citizens. They were not I'm using the term citizens because I don't think it's a good year to talk about them not considered human.
Yes.
I can't fathom that. I honestly cannot fathom how you cannot. Blood, I get a cut, I bleed red.
Yes.
Well, you see, when you see that would be like the residential placements in the 60s and the 70s and before for the black mixed race children and black and mixed race children in the UK. That same level of treatment, the rocking in the corner, children, our black children being dispersed into places where white people, that's all they see. And that still happens today. That's 2022. Our children are placed in places that they will not know what yam is. They're not going to know what okra is.
Well, Trevor Noah was talking about the fact that he had to hide. His mother had to hide him because he was mixed race.
Crime.
That time there.
In some places, South Africa,
yes,
it was very clearly spoken. You see, when it is clearly spoken about, you can address it. But when it's a very subtle thing, and you're made to think as if this is not necessarily, you start thinking, am I imagining this? Is this for real?
It's gaslighting. It's gaslighting, on another level. Yeah. We've been gaslighted. I mean, even down before COVID, if you think about George Floyd, in the middle of that, we were traumatized through the whole of COVID, not just because of COVID. And when I've explained that to certain people, they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you only saw George because you was forced to stay at home through COVID. It's just another black man.
But that has been going on for a very long time.
Yeah, and after him and before him.
Did any of you watch Uncomfortable Conversation with a Black Man? Oh my gosh. And I think Emmanuel was able to do that because there's a thing that a lot of us don't understand. He's able to do that because of the fact that he is coming from Nigerian, American, Black, African, in terms of that Nigerian aspect of him and living in America, because you see things differently from the average African American when you are coming from that kind of let me tell you what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sidney Poitier spoke about it. When he came to the US the first time, and he walked into a police station, because what it was, he had to get his birth certificate. I remember reading his biography, and he said that, and you have to. And he walked in the certificate and asked them for, because he was born in the States and he had now to come and get his birth certificate, and he was in adolescence, and he walked in, or maybe in his 20s, and he walked into the police station and he asked, and they addressed him as nigger, and he looked over his shoulder and looked behind him. He says, "Mr. Potter, to you. A black man would never do that who is born and raised in the States." Because of the fact that he was raised in the Bahamas, and he said it in his book, because he was raised in the Bahamas and he saw black people in powers of authority, and he was exposed to, you as a black person could be who you wanted to be.
Yes.
You have a different mindset.
Yeah.
Altogether.
Yeah, I think that changed for the US, just before I go, in
and
terms
you're
of
willing to take certain chances and do certain things that the average African American would not do, and that's what Emmanuel was able to do, because he's able to see it from a different perspective. And that's why Trevor Noah speaks a certain kind of way. Again, because you were not born in the US.
And that is why Sidney Poitier could, in that movie, do that slap again with the police. With the
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
That was a part of it. Well, guys, listen.
Listen, I've got to go.
Another
It's been
show.
good. It's been good.
All the best.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Stay blessed.
Thank you, Sil. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for just wrapping up now. It's been what should I say, a marathon show tonight. It's normally 2 hours, went to 2.5 hours. It shows you that the contents are very important, and the discussion of the topic shows that it is a very serious topic that we need to touch on. I think we just scratched the surface, but I believe one of the things that came out of it is the whole aspect of trauma and the whole familiarization of with children and working relationship, the family, the village. I could go further, But anyway, thank you so much for joining, everyone. Those on Instagram, we're going to just see just my face only. Those on Facebook and those on YouTube, I do encourage you to like and subscribe to the show. Subscribe to the Silburn TV. And follow my walk and talk motivational moments as well in the mornings in the park, which really is good. And Marva and everyone else, have a good night. God bless you and peace out. Boom. Yeah.